I will say, like, I have been through all of these moments of being just like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? And I I really didn't realize that the Lord was in the midst of those things because he had to do the most to bring me back. Like, and when I say he had his hands and like literally grabbed me and picked me up out of hell, yes, I give you my life. This is the In Your Favor podcast where I share lessons I've learned on my walk with Christ to help you navigate yours. Listen, we may not always get it right and we won't always have the answers, but trust it's working in your favor. Hey y'all, and welcome to the very first episode of In Your Favor. I'm Amanda, and this podcast is all about exploring God's grace, favor, and faithfulness, especially in the moments when it feels like it's falling apart. Before we dive in, first of all, I'm so excited y'all are here. Welcome. I'm finally doing this thing. I know I've talked about this for a while, so if we've had this conversation about In Your Favor, welcome. It's finally happening. Your girl's doing it. I feel like, there's a lot of podcasts in the world, but the Lord said, it's your turn. So here I am. Just want to start by saying, if you have ever felt like you've messed up, you have strayed too far away from God, that you've done too much for him to use you, if you've ever questioned whether he's like actually working things out for your good, if you've ever looked at your life and you thought like, what is going on? This is not at all what I thought it was going to be like. Stay a little while because that is exactly my story. And one of the things that the Lord really placed on my heart this year was to be more vulnerable, to share more about my journey, my story, where he has brought me from, the things that he has delivered me from, and just how he continues to just transform and renew my life on a daily. So I want to just say I'm excited for this journey. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope that it encourages you. I hope that you take something away from it because ultimately, even if it helps one person, I know that it is not in vain. So I'm going to start a little bit with my testimony because I feel like I haven't really shared a lot about my journey, how I grew up, my past. I feel like I haven't shared a ton of, just about me. And so I'm gonna jump in and talk about where I came from. If you know me, you know I am from small town, rural country, Virginia, outside of Charlottesville. My town has one stoplight. Nothing's there, y'all. When I say nothing's there, we don't have fast food. They had a Dunkin'. I don't know if it's still there. There was a Dunkin' Donuts and like a Food Lion, but no Walmart, no movie theater, no mall, nothing. One stoplight. And I remember the people were in a frenzy when that stoplight came. It was a whole thing. But I did grow up in church, grew up attending church every Sunday, pretty much. My mom was very active in the church, but I had a weird relationship with church for a while. So my dad is actually Catholic and his side of the family is primarily Catholic, where my mom's family is Baptist. And so I've asked them about this too, like growing up, how did they decide, were we going to be Baptist? Were we going to be Catholic? What was that journey? And honestly, their response was we didn't really talk about it. And so there were Sundays where my family would go to my dad's church. And so we would go to mass. And then there were Sundays where we would go to my mom's church where we primarily went, which was Baptist. And so we would have our traditional Southern Baptist service. And so I was very much I knew God. I was baptized when I was 7 or 8, and I was baptized Baptist, obviously, but I was baptized when I was 7 or 8. I knew God. I understood, but I never had relationship. And I feel like that happens, or that can be a lot of people's story where it's I went to church, I grew up in church, I am doing the church things, but relationship not existent. It was not there. I didn't know God for myself for real. I knew what my grandma had said. I knew what my mom had said. I knew I had experienced God in some ways. I had felt the Holy Spirit, but I didn't know what to do to really cultivate that relationship any deeper. And so Yeah, as you can imagine, it was a journey trying to navigate that through most of my teenage years. I was like very much questioning, like, is God real? Is God not real? Like, what is God? Who is God? I went through all of the questions because I really didn't understand it. And as I'm sure a lot of people can relate to as well, when I would ask the elders in my family, it was always, you don't question God, you just believe. And that confused me because I'm like, I don't understand and I don't really have a place to go to understand. And one thing about it is when life start lifing and you don't have no foundation, it's going to crumble. And that's exactly what happened. So I went through some very crazy experiences. I've got a few stories, but the one that I think really transformed me. So like I said, I grew up in church and then I actually graduated high school early. So I graduated high school in 3 years and I went off to college. And college is a journey in itself of just rediscovering who you are outside of the identity that you have created under your parents. And so I was, again, on that journey of just really figuring out who God was for myself. I always, for the most part, believed in God. I just didn't know God. I was like, what is God? I wanted to have a concrete answer, I think, in like, God is this, and this is how you approach God. And I feel like that's how a lot of my relationships were, or just like, oh, like if I learn everything I can possibly learn about this thing, then I can master it. And then I can fully understand and walk into it with the confidence of like, oh, I'm doing it the way it's supposed to be done. And that's just not it. You'll never get that. So it really just like kind of shook me because I'm like, I don't understand. So on my own, 17 in college, figuring it out. And my sophomore year in college, I was struggling so hard with my mental health. I was like, I don't want to live anymore. I truly just felt like I did not know what to do, who to turn to. And it was a really isolating time in my life. I had just lost a close friend of mine to a car accident. And so I was really struggling with how, one, life is so unfair. This makes no sense. But then also just like, that was the first time I had really experienced loss, and for it to be so close and for the person to be so young, I was wrecked because it just did not make sense to me. And so when I was struggling with my mental health, that was probably one of the first times where I was like, oh no, like this is actually not okay. And I remember feeling very confused, very lost, a dark season of my life. And at the same time, I was entering into an honor fraternity. And one of the people I connected with happened to be a believer. And we became really good friends. She was friends with my big in that honor fraternity. They were roommates. And seeing other people have a relationship with Christ, it did help me. I can't say at that moment I was like all in, like this is the thing, but I definitely found hope through being connected to believers. Granted, I was still in college, I was still drinking, I was still partying, I was still going out, but I felt after that one experience where I was like, I don't want to live anymore, and was like, the pits, coming into relationship with those people really did give me hope and to live again. And so I was like, okay, like I need to get back in my word. I need to like explore God for myself. And it took me a while to actually get there. But in that season, I was reminded that there is hope. And so fast forward, I graduated college. I moved back home with my parents and I started working part-time while working full-time while getting my master's. And so it was a lot going on in my life. And I had reconnected with some people from my high school who lived in my town. And y'all, we don't be making the best decisions sometimes. I can't hold you because I should have never been with these people. And I knew I shouldn't have been with these people. I'm about to tell y'all a story. But the night that everything happened, I was actually living with my sister who lived like a few minutes up the road from my parents. And I had got off work. I was in the bed and she came downstairs and I was like getting up and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm about to go hang out with so-and-so. And like these people think I'll have a little get together, a little kickback. And she was like, why are you going with them? And I was like, I probably shouldn't. I know I shouldn't. But I was like, it's something to do. There's nothing else going on. I'm gonna go link up with these people. It's literally 5 minutes from my house. Like, it can't be too crazy. Like, it can't be too crazy. When I tell y'all, this experience absolutely changed my life. Like, it changed my life. So I went to meet up with these people. And at the time I was into smoking, but I wasn't a big like weed smoker. I've never really been a big smoker. At least not at that point in my life. We'll get to other parts of my testimony later, but at that point in my life, I wasn't a big, like, huge smoker. I would do it recreationally, like with people every now and then, but that wasn't my thing. And I actually brought my own wine to the party because these people were kind of sketchy, kind of known for being a little seedy, a little, got a question mark. And so I was like, let me come prepared. I'm gonna do all the right things. I'm gonna make sure. Long story short, I'm in this place with these people who I should not have been with. And I had drank the I had like little things of wine that I had brought with me. I drank through two of those, and then they were smoking. And so I'm like, I'm here. I might as well. Should not have, but I did. And then this person brought me a glass of wine. At the time, I was not a red wine drinker, did not really have the acquired taste for red wine. And so I was very much like hesitant, but I was like, I'm here. I'm out of my drink. Like, one glass is probably fine. Mind you, this person lived with their parents. And so I'm like, how bad could it really be? Like, it's just a group of kids hanging out, drinking and smoking and watching TV. Like, it can't be that bad. And so, long story short, I drank what was in this cup, and about 10 to 15 minutes later, I started to feel really weird. And I was like, I'm not okay. And so I went to the restroom and I was like trying to throw up, and I was like trying to get it out of me. I'm like, I have got to get this out of my system. And I wasn't able to get it out of my system. And so I started freaking out, and I'm like, I've got to get out of here. They had blocked my car in the driveway, and so I wasn't able to leave. And so at that point, I was like, full blown, I need to get out. And I called my parents. Between the time I called my parents and the time that my parents were able to get there was probably like 20 minutes or so. And by the time my parents got there, I was completely full blown, not myself. I have been roofied with something. I still don't know what it is. I ended up in the hospital, and that experience is the first time I will say that I feel like I met the Lord. And I met the Lord because I thought I was going to hell. I thought I was dying. And so I was basically telling my parents, I'm like, I'm dying, like, I'm dying, I'm dying. And I know that was probably very traumatic for them to witness their daughter in that state of mind. But I literally thought I was dying, and everything I saw was pretty much dark. It was very heavy. It was very like demonic. It was extremely demonic. And I remember feeling like my body was on fire. And as they're driving me to the hospital, I was trying to recite the 23rd Psalm, and I could not recite it. And I remember just apologizing to God. At one point, I had stopped talking to my mom completely. I was only referring to my dad, and I would only refer to him as father. Like, I've never called my dad father a day in my life. Like, it was always dad. And I was like, yes, father, like, yes, father, no, father, like, father. Like, I was seeing my dad as God, and I needed him to save me. I could not recite the 23rd Psalm. I felt like I was being driven to hell. I got to the hospital. I was fighting the staff. Like, I was literally full blown out of my mind, like out of my mind. And I remember one of the doctors came in, and they had on, like, I saw it as all black. It was a like white man, all black clothing, black mask on, and they were trying to get me to sign the consent form so they could treat me. I, in my wrong state of mind, took that as they were trying to get me to sign my life over to the devil. And I would not sign those papers. I was fighting. I was like literally like losing my mind. And so they did a bunch of tests. They were like testing me, monitoring me, and I ended up staying overnight. But through that experience, I was like, I have got to get right with the Lord. I have got to get right with God because I'm not in good standing. Like, I'm literally like, I was about to go to hell. Like, that is not where I want to be. I don't want to, I need to get right. And so I really started at that point diving deeper into like, what does the Bible even say? Like, read it for yourself, get in the word and figure out what God is even saying. And so I went on the first, I would say, round because I would love to say it only took one time, but it did not. It took me years to get to a place where I am now, but that was probably the first time where I was like, I need to really just learn God for myself. And so I was really like going to church and reading my word, exploring God for myself, learning God, having conversations with God, being honest with God. And at that time, I was very much doing a lot of yoga. I was like dabbling in like crystals and stuff, but I wasn't like full blown there yet. So I was still very lukewarm, still very much like playing with fire. Like I just wasn't aware of how the spiritual realm works at all. And so after that experience, like I said, I went on this journey to learn God for myself. And I ended up meeting my ex-husband at the time while I was starting that journey. And so as I got into like learning God for myself, I was like, no, like I really need to be in church. But as I got into the relationship, I really found myself losing that. And I ultimately lost it altogether. And so that progress that I found myself making for that period of time literally just went away over the course of that relationship. And so we ended up being together, getting married, and ended up divorced. And so that was really the moment where I was like, wow, this whole time I'm back where I was, where I felt like I don't know God. I don't know God. I don't know God. And it was a very scary place because at that point I was like, I'm much older. I felt a lot of shame. I felt a lot of guilt of like, how could you still not know? And so I was like, I am so far from God. There's no way that I can approach that again because that clearly isn't it. I'm like, it can't be the God, like it can't be Jesus. Like I literally was like, it can't be Jesus. Like, and so I've leaned even further during that time into New Age, crystals, tarot cards. I was doing a lot of divination, creating altars. Like there was a heavy presence of like demonic activity that I was inviting into my life and I didn't even know. And that's the crazy part, y'all, is like I would even pick up the Bible and read with crystals on my Bible. Like I literally did not know. And it's so scary. I'm so grateful the Lord delivered me from that. But it was just like, it's so scary to think that there are still so many people who think that you can do both. You cannot do both. You cannot do both. I'm sorry. You cannot do both. And I know you can't do both. I've experienced it. I've tried it. Like you cannot do both. And I think going through those experiences of being like, I literally should have lost my mind. Like should have lost my mind. And knowing that the Lord kept me for a reason, I see it now, but I definitely did not see it then. Like I have experienced like I experienced probably the craziest like 3-4 years of my life. I was married for 11 months, got separated, got divorced. In the midst of a divorce, lost my grandmother, only for a few months later to lose my job, got laid off from my job because they were doing a merger, and then got a new job a few months later, and then 9 months later got laid off from that job because they were doing a restructuring. And so I will say, like, I have been through all of these moments of being just like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? And I really didn't realize that the Lord was in the midst of those things because he had to do the most to bring me back. Like, and when I say he had his hands and like literally grabbed me and picked me up out of hell, yes, I give you my life. I literally will give you my life. Like you saved me. I am yours. And I was yours all along, right? And I think that's the crazy part is that we have these desires and these things that we want. But at the end of the day, this is not our life. My life is not my own. Like, truly is not. And I think I'm so grateful now that the Lord knew that it was going to take these very traumatic experiences, these like worst of the worst, I think, to really get me to see him. And it took a while for me to see that. And so he was never after the things, right? Like, he didn't care about the house, the car, the job. It wasn't about that. Like, he was after me. And I think the moment I realized that this whole time I've been like fighting and like wrestling with like wanting my plans to be it, wanting things to go my way, wanting everything. Like, I had built this dream life, y'all. Like, I was like, I'm going to be married by this age. I'm going to have kids by this age. And all of it I had a good job, like house, like homeowner, all that, like everything that you can imagine, like you're supposed to have with the American dream and all of this stuff. I was so broken, so empty, so void on the inside, to the point where I was not only rejecting him and running from him, making my bed in hell. I was so broken. Like, I literally didn't even have healthy relationships. I didn't have healthy friendships. Like, I did not have a good relationship with my parents. Like, there was no fruit on, ultimately. Like, there were good pockets and there were good things here and there. But when I look at the like totality of my life, I see like it was really void of God. And so there wasn't anything that I was really producing that I could be really proud of. I just couldn't. I was like, what is going on? And so to know that the Lord loved me enough and cared enough to, even despite all of that, even me running and being so disobedient in so many ways, even despite all of that, he was like, no, I still choose you. Nope, you're still my child. Nope, I still love you. And so I think one of the hardest lessons like I really had to learn was like, trusting God doesn't mean everything is going to go the way that you want it to go. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the plans that you laid out. It really is like, even if it's not, he's still good. Even if it's not the life that you dreamed of, the way that you dreamed of, like having him is worth having everything. Like, that is it. That is the goal. And so one thing it really taught me was like, there is no compromise, and truly being able to like stand on business when it comes to God and not allowing circumstance to sway you, not allowing people to sway you, not allowing anything to get in the way of that, like was probably one of the biggest lessons that I could have taken away from it. And even though it was like so hard, I truly do believe that, you know, God works all things for good. And so if he works it for good, then I know even if he didn't want that to be the path, which I don't believe he did, he can still take my poor decisions. He can still take my mess ups and use them and turn them into something so beautiful. And so I think one of the things like we don't always talk about, right, is that, oh, like good doesn't feel good in the moment. At the time, like I was like fighting for my life. I was miserable. I was like, I don't know up from down. Like I am depressed. I am struggling with anxiety. I am financially in a terrible point. Like losing your job once is hard. Being like going through one layoff is like traumatic, but to go through two within a year, it was probably like the lowest that I've been, while still having to show up, right? Like when I did get that job again, it's like I'm trying to come out of survival mode and my body is still like, it's not safe. Like we just went through something traumatic. Like we're still processing the last trauma. Like here we are going through something else. And so it really took a lot of therapy. It took a lot of prayer. It took a lot of like being connected and at the feet of Jesus to really drag me up out of that thing. But, you know, God had to do what he had to do. He had to strip me of some things, okay? And he did, because I was holding on a little too tight. to stuff that he was like, that's got to go. Your pride, it's got to go. And I am doing a whole episode on pride because I'm just giving y'all the spark notes as the season goes on. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into some of these stories and the lessons that specifically that the Lord had brought to me. But baby, I was stuck struggling with the pride, honey. It was a hot mess, but he's kind. He's so good. He's so gracious. And honestly, I wouldn't trade any of it. I know it's like, girl, what? But I really would not trade any of it. And I know that you probably have had experiences, whether they're the same or whether they're different, that you have been like, thank you, Lord, because that experience was your mercy, right? Like that was you being kind, because this could have been death. This could have been another way that would have been even worse than what I went through. So I was like, listen, take everything, take the platforms, take the people, take the friends, take the house, take the job, take everything, right? Like take what you need to take in order for me to do the thing that you need me to do, which is ultimately come back to you. I had to stop seeking validation in people, in titles, positions. I'm going to get into all of it. It's going to be a really good season, I hope. Just sharing a little bit of what God has done for me. But he had to do all of that to heal me. He had to do all of that to heal my heart, heal my mind, and even heal my body, because my nervous system was a wreck. Like I was literally like a mess, like anxious all over the place. And so I'm just grateful. If you're in a season where you feel like you're losing everything, listen, you're not losing, you're being positioned, and it is working for your good. It will work in your good. Like just stay submitted. And if you feel far away from God, like you are never too far away to where you cannot return to him. So I will encourage you, like, there is nothing that you can do. Like the word says, like, there is nothing that can separate us. And so whatever it takes, like, get back at the feet of Jesus and know, like, it doesn't matter. You can make your bed in hell. He's still going to be there. Like, listen, I'm a witness. Like, he is still going to be there. And so don't think you're too far. Don't think you've gone too far. You've done too much. Don't feel like you've messed up too much. Like, God is truly still with you, and he will always be with you. Left the 99 to come after me. And so if he did it for me, he will do it for you. And I just want to encourage you to continue to seek him. I really want this whole podcast to be just space, right, where we have these conversations and unpack these hard truths, because I know it's not easy. And I wish there was a place I could have gone to, or a person I could have gone to say, like, hey, like, this is what I'm struggling with. Like, even in my marriage, like, I wish that there was a person and someone who was available I could have gone to say, like, hey, like, you can ask any of my friends now. Like, even though I am not married, I believe in marriage. I think God hates divorce. And the worst thing you can do is allow your pride to keep you from getting godly counsel, from being in community and healthy community, and finding safe people and safe spaces to really talk about life, talk about the struggles that you're having, because you cannot do this alone. And so I want this podcast to be a place, whatever you're going through, to have the hard conversations, to celebrate the goodness of God, to talk about identity, to talk about healing, faith, the journey. Like, I want it to be all of that, to truly just like walk in the favor of God, even when life looks crazy, even when it's unexpected, even when it feels like impossible. Like, I want this to be the place that you can come back to say, like, wow, I feel seen in that, or I feel like I can relate to that. And maybe everybody can't relate to it. That's okay. If it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, I'm totally okay with that. But I truly do believe that there is something from my journey, from my testimony, that could help at least one person. So here I am. You got me. You stuck with me, y'all, for at least a few episodes. I am so grateful you're here. I can't wait to unpack this more and dive into it in the next episode. But I will definitely say, like, there is good news. Jesus, there's a man, okay, named Jesus, who can turn it around, okay? But there are some hard truths that come along with it as well. So I hope that you got something from this. I hope you know me a little bit more. But most importantly, y'all, I hope that you feel closer to the Lord on the other side of this, because we're going to journey together. So I love y'all. I love you. And I hope y'all have a beautiful day.